as I mentioned, she serves as our CPA, and she has submitted those 990 forms. And if you've been reading what's been said, the village has been very critical of our financial status, and we really appreciate the opportunity tonight to clear the air on that. Your New Glarus area EMS is very healthy. The accusations about our financial status are just that, accusations. And to help, I guess, clear the air about that, we would ask that Catherine come forward to share some further information. And when she gets done, we've got additional profit and loss statements and evidence that we are alive and kicking. So Catherine, I turn it over to you.
So, I'm the accounting geek. This is where everybody goes to sleep. So I have been asked specifically to respond to a memo that was put out by the Southwestern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission in September of 25. Okie dokie. And as I said, I'm the accounting geek, so there's going to be a lot of accounting speak here. The bottom line is that I don't think that this memo that was put out is very well done. And I would say that the first problem I noticed, and again, I'm not privy to everything that's going on here, I'm just talking about the accounting information. The first thing that I noticed is that the gentleman who conducted it called me, emailed me out of the blue, and asked for information about New Glarus area EMS. Well, that was my first indication that this is somebody who's not familiar with the accounting world, not familiar with nonprofits. I have to do 80 credits of continuing education every biennial in order to renew my license. And the only course that we absolutely have to take, otherwise we can pick and choose, we can take fun stuff like taxes, is an ethics course. And our ethics are that I cannot speak to someone about a client of mine without the permission of my client. And that is, I mean, to the extent of when I do trust and estate work with couples, if their kids ask me questions, I can't answer those questions unless they tell me, talk to our kids. So that to me was kind of an indication that I'm dealing with somebody who's not necessarily privy to all the ins and outs of being an accountant. And the other thing is that there were a lot of items in here that are actually kind of trivial. So for instance, you all probably remember back in the day, 30, 40 years ago, we all used to file our taxes on paper. You fill out the form, you do all the signatures, you mail it in, you get your money back, or you owe them money. That's not done anymore. Nowadays, all the taxes, and mostly what goes in on taxes are required to be filed electronically. There's very little that the IRS will accept on a paper basis, and as of this year, they're not going to be sending out paper checks anymore either. So we're going to an electronic era. And under the general notes, one of the things he said was that there were not signatures on the 990 forms. And I'm going to quote here the direct guidance from the IRS on the proper electronic filing of a 990. If you're using a tax professional, that would be me, your tax preparer will use practitioner PIN method, and you must give them authorization to do so. You sign an authorization form. You must sign and submit Form 8879, which allows your tax preparer to file the return electronically on your behalf. If the IRS had any problems with the fact that there are no signatures on the forms, just because they're old-fashioned forms that are meant to be sent on a paper, then they wouldn't accept it. All of their 990s have been accepted. And to me, something that trivial is, you're just looking for stuff, because it's not even correct. So then under the general notes, it said that what he did was a trend analysis. And with a trend analysis, what you're supposed to do is look at the information in the last 3 to 5 years, because that would be a trend. a trend is not 10 years ago. Well, so he used forms starting in like 2015, going to I think 2022, saying that the forms were not available yet on the IRS website, so we didn't have 23 and 24. Well, here's the thing. If you're a nonprofit, there are a number of things that are available publicly that must be made available publicly. One of them is a public disclosure form. So all you have to do is go to Chief here or anybody on the board and say, I would like a copy of the 990. Instead of doing that, he cited the fact that it wasn't on the IRS website as though there was some problem with that. And again, that's really kind of a rookie problem, a rookie error. It's not meaningful. The other thing is, and I'm gonna wave this sucker around. This is, there's an organization that used to be called GuideStar. And what they do is they analyze pretty much every single nonprofit 990 that goes through the IRS. And so they have many nonprofit EMS services. They have many, they don't have churches because churches don't file an IRS or a 990. But they have groups of these so that when they do their analysis, they're matching like to like. They're saying, as far as EMS services go, here's how New Glarus stacks up. Well, had he reached out to GuideStar instead of trying to do the analysis himself, I'm sinking here. And my eyesight's not that good. So GuideStar, and I call it GuideStar because it was GuideStar forever, now it's Candid for some reason. It is the most widely used public access service in the country. People who want to make donations go to it, they look at it, they say, oh, tell me about this organization. And they have a whole bunch of stats. And so we pulled all that information from GuideStar. And basically what he said was, and so there's a couple different pieces. There's pieces that are in graph form, there's pieces that are in narrative form. But the bottom line is that New Glarus actually scored quite well. They have a liquidity ratio of 2, 1.5 to 3 is considered good. You know, like when we all go for get our blood work done and they give you this range, hey, you're in there, you're okay. New Glarus is good. The 10-year ratio is 10.37 for their 10-year average. There's a dip in liquidity in recent years because we bought an ambulance. So you don't have liquid cash, you spend it on an ambulance. That ambulance was paid off in 2 years, and equipment is not as liquid as cash. So their liquidity went from a 10, which is obscenely good, down to a 2 because they bought an ambulance. There are other indicators that they look at. The organization has a 6-month cash reserve, which is considered quite good. I have a lot of people I work with that I would love to see them have a 6-month reserve. Their fringe rate is 31%. We typically budget 30 to 35%. So all of the indicators that this GuideStar came up with said this is a very healthy service. And then I want to talk about some of the points kind of one by one. Part of the problem is, I think in this whole process, in accounting speak, we talk about due diligence. Due diligence is, I need to know that the information I'm getting is accurate. And so if I'm doing a tile tax credit, I need to know that there's a real kid there. And if you're gonna do due diligence, you gotta do both sides of the coin. So you can't just look at New Glarus and say, okay, well now we're gonna use this other service, but we're not gonna talk about them at all. I don't know if they've done any due diligence on that, but all I saw was stuff that was very critical of New Glarus. And the other problem with there not being a two-sided coin here is that you're going now from a service that is a nonprofit that can do contributions And Belleville is no longer a nonprofit. They're